and welcome to Through the Mist with me, your host, Owen. This is the Riordanverse Podcast, where we look at the law and try to understand how it all works. In this episode, we're going to be looking at the ancient law. Hello, hi, welcome back to Through the Mist. Yeah, woo, Miss Buster's in the house. I'm going to have to stop spinning this because I bet it can pick it up the whiz. Hello, welcome back everybody. Hi, Miss Buster's. Hello. Well. Show and tell time. It is time for show and tell. I am going to tell you things which you might have already seen because, you know, this is how time works, and the fact that I record this after doing things, and that I've posted about already. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything in between. I went to see the musical. I saw the musical. I saw it. I did it. I saw the musical. The musical, it was awesome. The musical was so fun and great, and yeah, I loved it. I was like so ridiculously giddy when I was going to watch it. I was like, and it was amazing and lived up to the hype that I had both given it to myself, and that's, you know, I had absorbed by being around it. Oh, it was great. I loved it. Can't recommend it enough. If you are available to go to the other palace in London to watch it, mate, just do it. If you're going, shall I, just do it. If you can get there, do it. It was great. And I guess song spoilers, I don't know how people, but they put Try in the musical, and it's my favourite song, and I loved it, and I was so happy, and it was just like beautiful as I imagined it could possibly be, because I was like, because, you know, it's like, so good. I loved it. It was great. But, you know, genuinely, it was so, I loved it so much. But there is no new law within it. It's like, it's the book, isn't it? So there's nothing new, no new law to talk about. But, you know, genuinely, just, it was so cool and so fun. And just no, that's drive. That's drive. And just drive. So, yeah, you know, if you can go down to the other palace in London, do it and watch it. It's running. They've extended it, so you've got time. Do it. Just do it. However, in normal proceedings, we do have last episode's question to run through. That was posted to Instagram. You never know these questions because I don't know them when I'm recording. I make them up later. And that is, why do you think the Oracle rejected me? Castellan, because we were doing an Oracle one, weren't we, guys? Yes, I know, it's been a while. If you're listening to these as they come out, it has been a while. Why has Instagram done that? I post squares. Keep my thing as squares, please. Thank you very much, you weirdo. Why is my personal squares, which is lovely, and then this one's not squares? That's horrendous. Anyway, why do you think Oracle rejected May? You know, this question makes sense. We're talking about her. We're talking about the Oracle. Obvious question. Nice and easy. Bish, bash, bosh. We got 2 responses for that question. We have one from Robert, and it's clearly it's the age-old punishment for premature sex that all the religious folks are fanatic about. /J, but also not /J. You know. So yeah. I mean, it's kind of set up that way, isn't it? So, you know. And we also have everyone's favourite Through the Mist listener, Darian, off of many things, including everyone's favourite Through the Mist listener. And Darian, why did you send a 4-part message in the Instagram comments? 4. Do you know how much? It's a lot to read. So I've cut it down to 2 and a bit parts. So there's a full 4-part message, you know, if you want it. And remember, you can follow the Instagrams at @through_mist. I've just realised I forgot to plug that. So plugging it now. Let's go. Engagement. Because you can do that while listening, you know. You could be listening to this podcast right now, and then you could, if you're on Instagram, you can open it up and you can go you can search through _mist, hit enter, and follow, and hit follow, and you could follow it, and you could become part of the discussions. Yeah? Yeah. Again, sorry to everyone that's on other apps. I am not, because I am weird. No, I'm not weird. I just don't want to bother with anything else. I'm being lazy. But I'll give you somewhere to meet. Anyway, Darian, what did you say? First, love the take that Red was getting visions because the Oracle was sending them away. I know, right? Thanks, Darian. Aww. Regarding May not having, I think I read that wrong. Her way. I think I said them away, but it says them her way. But you get the sentiment. Anyway, regarding May not having visions, if future sight was a prerequisite for oraclehood, I think Chiron would have known about it and pointed out the problem. His only crime was May being a mother, blah, 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 blah. We know that bit. When things break so bad, Chiron and everyone else is probably thinking it's that rejectment and the punishment for not meeting that requirement, unaware of the curse. However, I think without the curse, May could have hosted the Oracle, but really she only wanted to remain in Hermes' world. Mortals being unable to let the gods go and experience tragedy as a result is a running theme of the books, Sally being the lone exception. And it's because she wanted to keep Percy and not Poseidon. So that's a really good point, is like, the reasons May's doing this is very much, well, she says it's to stay in Luke's world, I think is the quote, is to stay with Luke and keep Luke by her side, a bit like what Sally does, and not send Percy to camp. We'll leave that aside for now, and you just kind of get the vibes, you know what I'm on about. But what Darian has said is their fourth and final comment. It was a 4-part comment, Darian. I've cut it down, and I just skim read that, you know? So, like, imagine. But what I want to know is why Apollo is nowhere to be seen during the May scenes. He shows up for Red. Why? Because he knows it'll work. We as a fandom, this is Darian talking, needs to call out Apollo for not caring that something was wrong with his oracle since World War II. Surely the cursed oracle would have told Apollo what happened. Hades didn't say it was a witch. Hades didn't say it was a witch of the waste. You can't speak of its curse. I don't know. That's Darian using witch language on me. I don't understand. I understood the second part, but I didn't understand the first part. Anyway, carrying on with the comment. So I'm left to believe that Apollo just didn't care, wasn't in any contact with the Oracle, or worse, viewed this Oracle as no longer his after she be cursed, totally casting her aside and embarrassing him, like Athena and Medusa situation, you know, all that iffiness. And that's a good point. However, I think with Toa, we have enough information to know Apollo didn't care about any of his oracles anyway. I think Apollo only showed up for Rachel's because he had this sense that a new big prophecy was going to happen, because, you know, that just got cancelled. But he didn't care about any of them anyway. We know that thanks to Toa. So, you know. But again, another reason to hate Apollo pre-Toa-Ton. So, everyone get on board with that. Also, before we move on to what we're all here for, I do have further points to bring up. And this is about episode 43, Why America, which featured Brayden of Return to Camp, and how it links to Wrath. And this is from a Corolla on the Siri Brain Patreon Discord server. That's right. Owen has snuck his way into the Patreon server and is cheekily promoting his content without officially promoting it. But they brought up a point about how it links to Wrath, and I just wanted to bring it and share it with the world. So here it goes. So Peter, the Netherlands guy, is a perfect example for the immigrant demigod theory that we talked about. And I was like, oh, yes, it's all becoming up. Owen, this is great. But there's so much for my branding. And this also fits with their theory that Rick is getting into the Aeneid in the series. Peter is basically the new Aeneas of New York and the USA. The Olympians didn't move to Greece with Aeneas, but later generations when the city of Rome had been established. So if you don't know what those words means, because I didn't, so I googled it and found out. Aeneas is the guy that left Troy to found Rome in the who's it? Who do people not like in the Roman theology world? I can't remember. That book that when Rome went, we're gonna link it to Greece. That book that does all that legwork on that guy. But that's what that is. So basically, Peter moved to New York, and then the Olympians come over later. And you know what? That's great. I love it. I am down for it. I am here for it. And you guys are amazing. Oh, that was a long rambles, wasn't it? Right then. What are we here to actually talk about? The ancient laws. What are they? Where do they come from? How are they enforced? And just a note, I'm going to caveat this right now. A lot of the stuff I've got is thanks to Reddit threads. And I've kind of bounced 3 or 4 different people's points and like merged them together. But I went, does anyone else talked about this? Like, I couldn't be bothered to look through the books again, so I googled. And this one person, I'm going to quote later, just has like all the quotes. And I was like, thank you. Anyway, what are the ancient laws? We will start there. So what ones do we know? So some of the ancient laws we know more explicitly than the others. So we'll go through them and we'll see what we can get, see what we have. And this is where we get some stuff. So law uno mas. Is that? I don't know if I said that right. Hang on. English. There we go. I can't spell English. So, Garaith un. Law 1, Garaith un. Here we go. An immortal cannot directly steal another's symbol of power. That is the first thing we know. That is like the whole reason for the lightning thing. The first book, this is the reason this exists. This is the story. This is the catalyst. This is the in-universe reason for this story being able to take place. And all the jabs at Percy. So yes, as previously mentioned, we have Reddit user Kingdom Crown to thank for this collection of quotes for all of this. So I'll read them. Besides, even if the other gods suspect Hades, and I imagine Poseidon does, they couldn't retrieve the bolt themselves. Gods cannot cross each other's territories except by invitation. That is another ancient rule. Heroes, on the other hand, have certain privileges. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read the rest because we don't need to care. And the other quote we have is, now a god cannot usurp another god's symbol of power directly. That is forbidden by the most ancient of divine laws. But Zeus believes your father convinced a human hero to take it. So, as you can tell, they are from the first book. From the first book. Oh, the territories one. That's the other ancient law. I've just realised I've missed an ancient law. Oh, look at that. We'll add Garaith un. What's 1.5? 1.5. Un ahana. If I do numbers, what does it translate as? Does it 1. Actually, it might read it to me though. Oh, 1.5. Of course, 1.5. I'm gonna have to keep this bit in now. That's another law there. I just didn't understand when I was reading the quotes. That's good. Is gods cannot cross each other's territories except by invitation. Wonderful. Anyway. Law 2. Garaith die. Garaith die? An immortal cannot directly interfere in mortal affairs. Yes, that's right. Garaith 2. Law 2 is that a mortal cannot directly interfere in mortal affairs. I don't know why I keep on repeating this. I think it's just because I need to make sure you register what I've said, because I'm doing a lot of Owen things around it. Again, kind of read it. Many quotes. So, ready? Don't just look. Don't judge the Lord of Sea too harshly, the Nereid told me. He stands at the brink of unwanted war. He has much to occupy his time. Besides, he's forbidden to help you directly. The gods may not show such favouritism, even to their own children. Especially to them. The gods can only work by indirect interference. That is why I gave you the warning and a gift. Yeah, indirect interference. It's actually them just working around the law. That's what that is. That is them working in the muddy grey area of the law. Anyway, and then we have permission to kill, my lady. I couldn't tell who she was talking to because she kept her eyes on the manticore. The monster wailed, "This is not fair! Direct interference! It is against the ancient laws!" And so that's Artemis doing the Artemis thing. "Luke, do not dishonour her," Hermes warned. "Your mother did her best she could. As for me, I could not interfere in your path. The children of the gods must find their own way." "Luke, I care very much," Hermes said slowly. But the gods must not interfere directly in mortal affairs. It is one of the ancient laws, especially with So, we get more and more of no direct interference. Sorry, kid, you're not on my level. So I was working out who was saying that, and that was Ares. So I changed the accent halfway through. Hermes readjusted his mailbag on his shoulder. "Percy, the hardest part about being a god is that you mustn't. You must often act indirectly, especially when it comes to your own children." This is some of the worst accent work I've done, but I used to be quite good at keeping a consistent accent, and I've lost that ability, and I don't know why. Yeah. Anyway, Gyrthaith Dai is a little more complex in its output and its design, and you constantly see gods working around the law and working in the grey areas by indirectly working. I think that's kind of the grey area. Artemis is the biggest example of just going, no, there's this other law that counteracts this law. Artemis is in the hunt. The manticore is her prey. She can do what she likes. Vibes. And the final law we're going to discuss. Gyrthaith Tri. That's wrong. Tree. Yeah, tree. I read that and I knew that. I just wanted to check it wasn't a change to a C, basically. Gyrthaith Tree is an immortal cannot attack a mortal. They can only defend from the attack. So this one is implied. It is not really stated, it is very much implied. So there's just a lot of text that kind of talks about it, especially in the early books. And the main bit we see this in, we see it kind of in the Ares fights and stuff like that, but the main one where you get this direct information from is in the Titan's Curse when Percy charges at Atlas. Have the gods... Hang on, what voice should we do for Atlas? What shall Atlas be? Somerset, have the gods taught you nothing? An immortal does not fight a mere mortal directly. It is beneath their dignity. See, I lost it. Halfway through, the accent changed. What is happening to me? Why am I like this? Immortals are constrained by the ancient rules. A hero can't go anywhere, challenge anyone, as long as they have the nerve. Once attacked, Atlas was free and retaliate directly with all his might. Retaliate. I can't read. Yeah. So that's what we get. That's the vibes. It's kind of iffy. It's a bit washy. You do get this hard thing. Hard bit with Atlas though. However, so I went, okay, hang on. What about the Last Olympian and throughout who with the giants? How do we define that stuff? Well, I didn't really look at Tolo, to be honest, but they have an army of monsters. So kind of the monsters attack first, and then the demigods just attack the immortal, and then the immortal attacks back. And Krook is a complete different person. He gets a hall pass. He's mortal. He's a possession of a mortal. So the mortal gets the hall pass, And then in Who, Hazel is the first one to attack Acolinis. So that's good. When we get to, and this is all in Sun. When we get to New Rome, they started the battle before we got there. The fight is waging between the giants. We don't know. However, it does seem that Enchiladas, the lost hero giant, Zeus's counterpart, does attack first, maybe? Which is like a diss for this one, but again, it's all a bit weird and wonky. Just a little bit weird and wonky. So, that was a lot of information. That was just a lot of me doing silly voices, talking about comments and just stating laws. So I thought I'd put a break in, partly for my own well-being. More than anything, we protect my well-being. And there is just this big caveat to kind of all of this. And this is like straight stolen from Reddit user Exhalated Hero 88. And it's the meta-narrative. It is, and you kind of need to mention it because it helps with why this even exists as things, because Rick has made these up. As ancient laws, they don't really exist in myth, but I'll say what they said and you'll get it. The ancient laws in the books are twofold: plot devices that drive the plot itself forward and serves a huge chunk of Luke's motivation for doing what he does, and it also prevents the gods from just acting as Deus Ex Machina and simply hand-waving every problem away. Therefore, the gods can only act in direct ways that both frustrates their children, who want more love and attention of their parents, and makes the story more satisfying because the heroes have to solve their problem. Because of that, divine help is really rare. And that is kind of the thing. Rick has created these ancient laws as his reason gods can't help cards, which then makes the book better. That is why they exist. However, that is not why this podcast exists. This podcast exists to make all of Rick's weird and odd self-inflicted law, ridiculous contradictions work as one cohesive unit. And this is one of them. Especially, so Law 1, Law 2, they are basically solid throughout the book. And Law 2 especially. All the books, very solid. No one does the direct interference thing. Even the Titans, they don't directly interfere with the mortal affairs. Give Luke dreams. And Luke does the legwork and steals the items of power, etc., etc., etc. The Giants, similarly, they just kind of ignore the mortals. They don't directly do anything. Then they don't steal. Actually, that's a question. How does Juno become captured? Why didn't I think of that until like 5 seconds now? Until now, Juno captured. I hope this isn't going because it sometimes does that when I Google Lost Hero. Blah blah blah. We'll have a quick read of the Riordan wiki because this is what if it's good enough for Rick, it's good enough for us. Even though there are definitely some issues and some fan-made characters on here, and also apparently fandom is a horrendous website behind the scenes. Anyway, blah 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 blah. Blah history in the series. Juno does the whole thing. Child of Mars, Second Title War, captured by Gaia with the help of the Snow Goddess, drains Zeus' power, and then yes, just kind of exists. Doesn't really get explained how she got captured. But again, not really mortal, are they? But also, they don't really do 1.5 law doesn't really get crossed either because they don't steal the symbol of power. They steal them, which is a slight difference. And they probably got invited in. Cloney, Mrs. Snow herself probably got invited in. So, it doesn't really break. Anyway, so how and why? So that's the real question now. So we know kind of what they are, and we get them, and they are most of the time self-governing, and they work within all the books. There's not the giants fighting the demigods is probably the biggest exception to this, and maybe one of the battles in in The Lost Hero. However, you get into that weird bit where the Lost Hero, The Last Olympian, where you get into this weird bit where it's the entire thing is a siege. You get into the muddy grey water there, and then you've got grey areas like this. Yeah, so that's grey areas, and then you get the giants. It's all a bit wishy-washy. The how and why, though, that's still got questions to answer. So I want to view these more as like universal laws of nature, like gravity. Like, these are laws of nature. These are things that the immortals themselves cannot break. Like, if they try to break them, it's just impossible. Like, if they try to steal someone's symbol of power, like, their hand just phases through it, you know? Sort of vibes. If they try to tackle an immortal, they miss, you know? They just can't do it until it's engaged, even if they want to. It's not like it would try and stop them. They will just physically can't do it. Like, if Percy didn't charge an Atlas and Atlas tried to swing a sword at Percy, it would miss every single time as long as Percy didn't fight back. As long as Percy just stood there and walked away, Atlas couldn't hit Percy. You know, that sort of vibe. So that's kind of, I think that's the how. Like, that's how it's kind of enforced. That's kind of how it works. And I can't remember what episode it was, but I was researching the episode and I came across the Goddess of Justice, and I remember at the time thinking, oh, can I link that to the ancient laws? Can she have anything to do with them? So I did a little bit of research on it, and on them, just a little high-level research. So Themis is one of the first Titans, daughter of Gaia and Uranus, goddess of divine law and order, which, this is where you got to, like, understand something. Divine law and order is the traditional rules of conduct first established by the gods. So that's what she embodies, is the traditional rules and of conduct first established by the gods. This differs from rules that we created as humans, as these were the realm of her daughter by Zeus. You know, who'd have thunk that one? Second wife of Zeus as well, you know. Which is Dyke. So that's who that is. And so what are the traditional rules? It's something that I was trying to work out, trying to talk through. So traditional rules are more like morals and customs, things that were just expected to happen, not necessarily written down. And I think the easiest one for you to context that mythologically is guest rights. You hear about guest rights a lot in stories of ancient Greece and myth, and that would be her domain, because it is not a law of the land, it is an expected custom of guest rights. That's kind of the vibe that these would feel under, I think. Again, I'm not a scholar, this is just research layers. Anyway, so I don't want to put Themis in charge of these ancient laws, because her zone of influence is still on human conduct, not on godly conduct. It is the traditional rules first established by the gods for humans to follow, not for gods to do themselves, because, you know, higher powers are always like that. And since we've never met them in the books, I don't want to plant anything on them now. However, I just think it was worth the quick little research to see anything mythologically that I could tie into it. And there's not really anything. And the who and the why they exist, laws of nature, keep the balance of things. For the why, the who enforces them or, like, came up with them. Chaos, the primordial soup, who knows. The how, I think we've got down, and the what, I think we've nailed. Right, there's one more thing before you may go about your day listening to other things. For me, that personally would be music. I love a bit of music. Go listen to the Percy Jackson. Go and listen to the Lightning Thief soundtrack. I would recommend the extended edition, so you can listen to Try, the best song. It's great. Love it. Want more? Anyway, the final thing we got to do is we are a Riordanverse podcast, not a Percy Jackson universe podcast. You know, there's a difference, a slight difference. So, can we apply the ancient laws to the gods of Asgard, and the gods of ancient Egypt. We'll start with the Kane Chronicles. And I'm going to be honest, I do all this through memory. I haven't bothered to read those books again for this particular thing, because it's a lot. And I think we can apply it to the Kane Chronicles rather well. But just purely based on how the system works. Territories don't really have those quite as heavy, but it works. You've got the God couldn't come into the magician in place. It works. You can make that work. That was 1.5. Law 1, symbols of power, not as prominent in the books for Greek gods, so you can make that work easy. And there you got the attack mortals. Well, that one you got the same get out of jail free clause as Krook, because they possess people. The one that's a bit more ishy is the directly interfere with mortal affairs, because they possess them. So, you've got, if the god forcefully possesses someone or a mortal, like Bast possessing the cat forcefully, do they directly interfere with mortal affairs? Or are they requested by a magician to help? That's where it gets a bit iffy, is the mortal affairs one. But I think because of possession, and hosting, well, not hosting, possession specifically, it gets a bit iffy. But I think that there's enough workarounds that I think we can apply them and confidently apply them to the Kane Chronicles and say, yes, these, and that leans into the fact that these are more universal laws. These are laws that all pantheons must follow, not something that Zeus invented, which probably in Greek myth it is, because Zeus apparently invented everything, even though being the third king of the entire universe. It's crazy times how that happens. And can we apply these to Magnus Chase? So, can we apply to Asgard's gods? Well, stealing the symbols of power, we already lose that. There's the whole Thor's hammer fiasco, But then you get complicated into the mythos of, are they immortals? Are they just long-living mortals that have that special fruit that makes them immortals? Makes them long-living and youthful? Because the giants, are they immortals? It gets very iffy and weird and complicated and hard, real hard to align. I think directly in mortal affairs, they probably do more of than anyone else, but again, that's kind of, they don't really interact with mortals in the myths. They kind of just exist in their own separate world and defend the mortals. So it gets, Magnus Chase is a bit more iffy. So I don't know if we can apply them to everything, which then does, again, raise the question, where do these come from? Are they a Greek-only thing? But for now, I would say they are. Thank you for indulging this theory. If you have any comments on this theory or theories of your own that you want me to discuss, you can email them through to through.t.myth@gmail.com, or you can follow the Instagrams @through_myth and DM me over there. Make sure to like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, follow the podcast, whatever you have to do to get the podcast out there. I've been Owen, and come back next time as we try to see through the myth. Only 2 more, guys. 2 more left. Woo-hoo.